We are the wind in the sails of your business. We are your compass. Chart your course towards your targets. Africa Business Radio. Towards a profitable Africa.
You're listening to Lagos Landlord, an exclusive podcast for real estate investors and players in the real estate industry, with your host, Amara Musa.
Wow. Hello and welcome to another episode of Lagos Landlord. My name is Amara Musa, property consultant here in Lagos, Nigeria. Here to discuss the Nigerian real estate market and even extending to the global market. And before I even go any further, I just want to give myself a pat on the back because this is the 5th episode of Lagos Landlord. We are going strong and I am super excited about what the future has to hold. Now, today, let's get right into the business of the day. Now, COVID-19 is still an ongoing conversation and a humanitarian challenge that will have a lasting effect on how people live, work and play. As a matter of fact, already the lives of so many have changed in ways they have never imagined. Physical distancing has directly changed the way people inhabit and interact with physical space. And the knock-on effects of the virus outbreak have made the demand for many types of spaces go down, perhaps for the first time in modern memory. This has created an unprecedented crisis for the real estate industry. Now, a report by Bloomberg states that global real estate investments have generally declined by minus 33%, and that in Asia it's been hit the worst with a fall of minus 45%. And according to real estate economic and research experts, the pandemic directly impacted the demand for space through quarantine, social distancing, shutdowns, supply chain disruptions, employment loss, and a shattering of consumer confidence. Which brings us to the topic of the day, the future of commercial real estate in the post-COVID era. Now, prior to the pandemic, the commercial real estate sector was showing great prospects. According to Business Day Nigeria, Grade A office supply was set to increase between 2020 and 2023. And the Nigerian Real Estate Market Survey showed high rates of conversion of larger unit accommodations, such as 4 bedrooms and 5-bedroom houses to commercial use within the Eleki axis. Now, with regards to the newly emerged concept of work from home during the lockdown, there are several ifs and buts. Will commercial real estate sector have the ability to emerge from the pandemic? What will happen to office designs going forward? Will working from home be the new norm? I could ask a million questions about the possible future of the commercial real estate space. But luckily, we have leading real estate owners and operators who are navigating the crisis to reposition the sector for the new normal. After the break, we'll be turning up the notch on this conversation.
You're listening to Africa Business Radio, where you get up-to-date insights on the Africa business landscape. Log on to www.africabusinessradio.com. Your favorite shows are available on podcasts. Download them on our website and mobile app. Africa Business Radio, towards a profitable Africa.
For those of us just tuning in, we are talking about the future of commercial real estate in the post-COVID era. Before the break, I had said that we have leading real estate owners and operators who are navigating the crisis to reposition the sector for the new normal. One of such people is sitting right next to me in the ABR studio. Yes, indeed, Mr. David Mbah. That's an Mbah with an H at the end. I was corrected very well before we went ahead with this. I've known David, how long have we known each other for?
It's about 5 years now.
5 years. Mm-hmm. Yes, I met David as a junior associate when I was working in our former place of work. And there was David, this helpful man in a fancy suit that was always willing to answer my many, many questions. And then here we are in 2020, and David is still answering my questions. And yours too.
And share your coffee.
And yours too on Lagos Landlord. So David, I ask everyone this whenever they come on the show. Tell us 3 words that describe you.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone.
Yes.
I'm happy to be here today.
Thank you.
My name is David, like she mentioned. Yes. And 3 words that describe me are calm,
yes, David
calculated,
is calm.
And passionate. Yeah.
What do we call that? Triple threat. Honestly.
CCP.
Tell us a bit about you and what you do.
Okay, all right. So I work with MDS Properties Limited.
All right.
The MDS is jointly. I work jointly I run the company jointly with my business partner.
Okay.
Who is another prolific real estate consultant.
I know her. She's powerful.
Yes. Big shout out to Ifweko Yegun.
Shout out to Ifweko.
And she has also contributed.
She's actually here in the studio with us recording.
And she's contributed immensely to the growth of the firm.
Fantastic.
And so basically what we do, we have 3 major services. We have the advisory service. Mm-hmm. I'm sure Amara has heard this thing a dozen times.
I'm listening.
Then she keeps asking me, what does the advisory cover? And then at some point I asked her, so do you now understand what the advisory covers? So she's like, no.
But actually now I do. Now I've seen, and don't forget when I was asking you that question, I was a real baby in the industry, still finding my way around. And now that I've grown and evolved in the industry, I do understand the kind of value that you provide for sure. And we'll get into that for sure.
Absolutely. So just in a nutshell, we provide advisory services. We provide branding and marketing services. And then at the tail end of it, we do sales and lease administration services.
Fantastic. Okay, that's cool. Thank you for that. So now, what parts of the commercial real estate sector were mostly affected by the pandemic?
Okay, thank you for that question. The biggest hit came on the prime category of the market.
Interesting.
So when I say prime category, I'm referring to properties in the grade A and grade B, but not all Bs. I would say grade B plus category. Mm-hmm. So they are the ones that took the worst hit when it comes to the COVID impact. Mm-hmm. And the reasons are not far-fetched. So when you look at the crop and the tribe of tenants in grade A commercial developments, a significant number of them are multinationals, with expatriates and what have you. And then in the wake and the break of COVID, a number of them had to be recalled, back to their home countries, and then even for the local companies who are here with us,
right?
Some staff had to be let go. They had to be laid off, and some were asked to work from home.
Right.
So all of these disruptions, I call them, disruptions. All of these have been able to affect hugely the footprint of commercial spaces being taken up by corporate tenants.
Right.
So that has just been it, and most predominantly in the grade A and grade B plus category. So also this has also affected this take-up of space by new companies looking for space. So prior to COVID, we had a number of transactions lined up. Companies that we're negotiating with and have even come to an advanced stage with. There are even some that have offers in their hands.
Okay.
And then at the break of COVID, we got a break, in those transactions. I mean, it was shocking, but.
So you felt like, so they withdrew?
Yes, they withdrew. So we do. So some said,
David, you must not have been happy about that.
Yes. Some said we are suspending, our quest for new space take-up. Some said we are no longer going ahead. Some even left the country. That's for you to see how
things
challenging
happen,
it was. So, but these are the experiences that we had, and we've had in the market. So yeah, that's just basically it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. And now, in line with this, I mean, you said a lot of people went home, people withdrew. So, what was how did people proceed with work? Since people didn't end up taking offices like that, did they now revert to working from home?
So most of the cases, yes.
Interesting.
Especially at the early stages of the COVID pandemic, and all its, lockdown, all of that happened.
Right.
But as it is today, the market, and movement has eased up, significantly. So what we experience right now in the market is a hybrid.
What does that mean?
So hybrid in the sense that some people are working in the offices now, and some others are working from home. So it all depends on the flexibility of your work, what you do, and how much of it demands or requests that you have to come to the office physically.
Right.
So for companies that don't really require, for roles that are not really required to sit down there in the offices. So for example, if I'm in facility management in a company, I have to be at the office. Yes. So it depends on the role you play. So, but right now we see more of hybrid. Some companies have staff working from home, some have others working in the office.
Okay, but this hybrid situation, is it sustainable? Is working from home a thing that's here to stay?
Well, in the long run, yes. Because one thing we know that is constant in life is change. And business people are constantly looking for ways to innovate, to grow their revenues, to reduce their costs, and definitely working from home has an economic impact, on the business, whether it's from the angle of, reduction of cost and all of that. So it has its own impact. So definitely I see it as something that is here to stay. I must even include this, that some of the new, I know this is not in the segments we're speaking about today, but some of the new residential developments that we see these days now make spaces for home offices.
Right.
So that people can now feel very comfortable
working from
relax
home
and work from home. Yes. At the end of the day, it's all in the bottom line. Productivity. What are your KPIs? So it doesn't matter where you're working from, whether you are working from home, working from the office, or you've traveled. You are able to get the job done. I guess that's what matters.
Okay, if you're able to get the job done, I guess that's what matters. That needs to be on a T-shirt. Yeah. So I remember you sent me this report. I think it was earlier this year. Yeah, it was just after the pandemic or during the pandemic.
Yes, during the pandemic, at the break of the pandemic.
And in that report that you published, I think it was called The Future of Lagos Real Estate Market.
Absolutely correct.
You stated that that part of the midterm effects of the pandemic was that the demand for Grade A offices will fall. And you even went further to say that prior to the pandemic, there was static demand for Grade A offices. Is the commercial space still a viable investment option? I mean, this is not great news.
Okay, thank you for that question. The commercial market or commercial real estate market is still a viable investment.
Okay.
It is. However, it is for a certain category of investors. Those who have a long-term perspective.
Okay.
Because first of all, the best time to buy real estate is in the down market. Which is now. So investors that know their onions, who know what you're doing. So
investors with money in the piggy bank.
Oh yeah, but that qualifies you as you know what you're doing. So they are able to make those strategic investments and lock down, secure those properties, right? But those coming into the commercial segment to play, know that they are not in for any short-term or even mid-term returns. They have a very long perspective, and they are looking at 3-4 years from now, where this, because it's cyclical, there's a down market now, next thing is a boom, so it will also always keep going in a cycle that way. So they are waiting for the boom and they're taking position, so the real estate market, commercial real estate market, is still a viable investment area.
So, okay, fine. Now I understand that. I understand from what you've said that it's still a viable investment option, that it's for people who have long-term perspectives. But, and I will still say this, there are still commercial spaces suffering from these vacant units. And I understand that these people have long-term ambitions and they have money to keep inside their pockets for a rainy day. But these properties have vacant units. And when you invest in a property, your time is a factor to your investments. So now, during this time where they are waiting for this investment to blow, right? What mitigating strategies can they use to still benefit from their investment? Even though, okay, we can't fill up the office with normal practices. So what other options are out there?
Okay, all right. Thank you for that question, Amara. Two things. First of all, I'm not going to advise them to change the use of their office if that's what you're looking to hear. Okay. Maybe turn it into a retail space, or probably use it for events. But retail is also part of commercial, isn't it? Yes, of course, it's still part of commercial. But when we are talking office, we're talking office.
Okay.
And it's a completely different
conversation.
Yes. So I'm not going to ask them to do any of those, out of the box, yeah.
Really?
Well,
isn't that the future for forward-thinking investors?
Well, it depends. Again, it depends on the kind of commercial real estate property that you hold. There are certain category of properties that you would hold, and you just can't do just about anything you like, as it were.
Okay.
So, for example, where we play mostly is in the prime commercial segment. And what we tell our landlords, or what we advise our clients, two things right now.
Okay.
Number one, you need to find creative ways to make your space attractive to potential tenants. Creative ways.
Okay, creative ways.
To make your space attractive to potential tenants.
Interesting.
And then the second one is that you need to find creative ways to retain existing tenants.
Okay.
So you're attracting on one hand, and you are retaining on the other.
Okay. But so still following the same business model.
Absolutely. Still following the same business model.
Okay.
But of course, it can be tweaked here and there.
Okay.
So what are the tweaks that we're talking about? You can have tenant incentives.
Right.
Things like rent-free periods, things like fit-out allowances.
Rent-free periods.
Absolutely.
Landlords, are you hearing? Rent-free periods.
I like the way she chuckled.
Okay.
So let me throw more light on that,
okay,
just in case you've not heard that concept. So it's a concept that is quite popular in the prime grade A and some part of grade B plus category of offices.
All right.
As a corporate, I want to take up a space. I want to pay for 1 year upfront. And I said to the landlord, I need 3 months or I need 2 months to fit out this space. So can you allow my rent to start counting after 2 months?
Okay.
Or after 3 months?
Okay.
So the landlord sits back and says,
Okay.
So you mean I'm going to have to lose money for 2 months, 3 months?
But you're providing value.
I'm providing value. So,
interesting.
So it's a way of making the space more attractive. So when that corporate goes back to the office and they are doing their comparative analysis of all the options they have on the table. Okay, I got this option from XYZ, I got that option. They say this one has a rent free. And it has a 3 months rent free. So that becomes a plus. So that makes the space more attractive and alluring.
So does that mean that, before, in marketing the product, that 3-month rent-free period is also included as part of the value being added?
Absolutely.
Or is this something that comes up as part of the negotiations?
No. In some cases, it's upfront. They let you know that there can be rent-free period here.
Okay.
Some other cases, they are quite silent. They want to see how far you can push. because some things, unless you ask for them, you never get them.
Well, of course, that rent-free period will provide the push to want to even have a conversation in the first place.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's a good one. That's a very good one.
Yes.
So creative ways of keeping your tenants and creative ways of attracting new ones.
Absolutely, yes. Yes. Other things you can do, you can also consider light furnishing. Light furnishing here and there that can even
ease the transition.
Burden. Yes, ease the transition and all of that. And then, of course, the HSC, health and safety practices in light of COVID. You have temperature scanners. You have social distancing policies. That people feel comfortable to come into the space and they feel they can work there and they feel they can be there and do business for the foreseeable future.
Interesting.
Yes.
Now, I remember that we just talked about how the retail experience is very different from the office space, but I just have to touch on this because I don't think I go to the store anymore. I literally just go on Instagram and buy what I want to buy. Literally. I never used to do that before, funny enough. I've always been very paranoid about what I wear, so I like to go to the store, fit it out. But I mean, online retailers are coming up with, interesting ways of doing business online. So I have to ask, within the trends that you've seen, is online shopping taking over the retail experience?
Well, not yet. It hasn't taken over the retail experience.
People still like the physical experience.
People still like the physical experience.
Naturally.
I mean, you know how the saying goes here. What you see is, is what you have. We're
especially in a country like Nigeria.
Like Nigeria, yes.
Those before and after, those images on Instagram where you have what you see versus what you got.
Yes.
Yeah.
And in fact, a friend of mine told me, if you see any merchandise, anything you want to buy online, and you see someone, a white person holding it, just don't buy that thing.
Yeah. Where did that white person come from?
Where did that white person come from? Make sure it's a relatable, yes, because you don't want to, meet the shocker, of your life. So here's the thing. Online retail, a lot of companies now are joining the fray. Mm-hmm. A whole lot of companies now are joining the fray. You're planning events, you're doing things, you go on Instagram, you find a whole lot of vendors. You're trying to buy things here and there, you see options. So it's increasing, but has it taken over? Answer is no. We are still brick and mortar, as it were, physical.
Yeah.
That's the way we work, mostly in Nigeria.
Okay, so based on that, I mean, we've talked about the retail experience now, we've talked about offices. What would you say is the most interesting investment option in the commercial real estate space right now? Okay, so this particular question would typically fall under our advisory category. Right.
Yes, so it's basically
you can give us small expo.
Yeah, it's basically something it's basically something that we can discuss more.
Don't do that to our listeners. Give them something. Why does David make money like this now? Give them something.
But one thing I can tell you for sure is that the grade A market is facing a huge saturation right now. There's an oversupply.
Okay.
And together with the impact of COVID is making a whole lot of, creating a whole lot of challenge in that category. So you can figure the others out. But it's something that we need to guide you, if you're looking to play in the commercial aspect of the real estate market. I'll provide you more information.
All right. So if you want more information on that, so that you don't waste David's onions, please make sure you get hooked up with MDS for more answers to the most viable investment options in the commercial real estate space right now. Now, being a commercial real estate expert yourself, how have you been able to cope in these unpredictable times?
Okay, so there are a number of things that I do, which are mostly intangible, as it were. First of all, I remain very confident.
Interesting.
Number two, I try to approach every single transaction with optimism.
Okay.
Every single transaction I
confidence,
optimism. And then of course I maintain same standards of professionalism. We're not lowering our standards. I know it's difficult, I know it's tough, I know it's challenging, but our standards remains what it is.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we follow up, aggressively.
Okay.
We never let the client go until a decision is made.
Interesting.
either in favor of or not. Even when it's not, we look for other options, but we just have to keep following up and following up and following up.
Very interesting.
And then, of course, we also try to be creative to find innovative ways of solving a client's problem.
So you stay confident, you stay optimistic, and you stay creative.
Yes.
Confident, optimistic, creative.
Follow up.
Okay. OCC. David is OCC. Yes. Now, what does the future look like for the commercial real estate space?
The future is bright.
How
the future is bright. We're having more and more entrepreneurs, coming out of this whole COVID disruption.
Okay.
What does that mean? It just means more and more businesses coming into the market. And with more and more businesses comes more and more demand for corporate spaces, office spaces.
Interesting.
So the future is bright.
The future is bright.
And as markets continue to open, as the world economy continues to evolve, we always expect to see a boom once again in the commercial aspect of real estate.
Fantastic. I mean, David, you've really opened up a lot of avenues and a lot of doors in terms of the knowledge that you've provided on this show so far. But just before we go, I always try to have the guest leave an advice or two for people who want to come into the space. What would you have told yourself 10 years ago as you are now running in this space? What is the advice you'd give yourself of 10 years ago?
You mean as a real estate consultant?
Yes.
Okay.
In the commercial space.
Okay. An advice I would have given myself 10 years ago is to say, grow your network.
Okay.
Grow your network. Know people in companies. When you get business cards, don't just go and dump them somewhere.
Okay.
Those business cards represent potential corporate tenants.
Okay.
So grow your network. That's one major advice I would tell myself.
Wow. So for anyone listening in, remember to grow your network. Remember not to throw business cards aside. This is from David Mbah, managing partner, and that's Mbah with an H, managing partner of MDS Properties Limited. David, thank you so much for your time. We have had such a good time with you
today. Thank you for
having me. And if people want to check you out, where should they find you? On Instagram?
On Instagram at MDS Limited.
Okay, at MDS Limited.
Yes.
All right, fantastic. For our listeners, I hope you've had an amazing time with us today. If you want to get to know me a bit better or connect with me, you can easily connect with me on Instagram, on my Instagram page at @AmariaRegent_, or you can check the most exclusive properties on the Lagos real estate market at @Ren_Regent. And of course, a big shout out to Africa Business Radio for giving us this platform to hold this exclusive show known as Lagos Landlord. David, God bless you.
Thank you.
Until next time, toodle-doo.
You're listening to Lagos Landlord, an exclusive podcast for real estate investors and players in the real estate industry, with your host, Amara Musa.
You're listening to Africa Business Radio, where you get up-to-date insights on the Africa business landscape. Log on to www.africabusinessradio.com. Your favorite shows are available on podcasts. Download them on our website and mobile app. Africa Business Radio, towards a profitable Africa.